Hi folks, this is Rachel Turnage, and this is a presentation for your Week 7 assignment. The main components of your visual argument are to have an image and then some text over that image. When you're choosing an image, you want something powerful that clearly illustrates the point you're trying to make. Your text is only going to be a few words, so most of your argument will come from the image. So think about an image that captures you immediately. You don't want too many details, and ideally it can be nice to have a face of some sort, whether it be an animal or a person, something along those lines to capture the reader's attention. When you're looking for an image, don't feel like you have to be artistic and create your own image. That can be difficult for some folks, and I do not expect that at all. Your best way to find a good image is to use Yahoo or Google image search. You can type in some different keywords for what you're looking at. I don't know if you want to argue people should be vegetarian, then you might type in vegetarian. Or if you don't want people to text and drive, you could type something along those lines. Or if you want to argue that people should adopt, again, you could type in those kinds of words and find a picture that you like. And so you are more than welcome to use the pictures that you find on the internet. Now the text of your PSA should be very short. Remember again, the focus is the image. So you only need about one sentence. And place the text of your PSA at the top or the bottom of the image in a complementary color, not red. Red, while it does stand out, often sends the wrong message, such as caution or anger. And you want it at the top or the bottom so that it doesn't obscure your image in any way. Now, combining the text and the image, you can use whatever software program you want. You can use Microsoft Word, you can use PowerPoint, Photoshop if you have it, any other Adobe programs if you have them. You can even use Microsoft Paint that comes with your computer. So it doesn't matter to me, as long as you upload it in a file format that I can open, ideally JPEG, PowerPoint, or Word document file that makes it simple for me to open. Now let's look at some professional examples of public service announcements so I can kind of talk about what works here. Now this ad for Don't Text and Drive is very powerful because you have obviously a body in the morgue, and normally you see the tag on the toe, but here you see that it was this person's hand that killed them. Now please note that the Don't Text and Drive is very small and at the bottom of the screen. So that's important. You can see where it's not the focus. The focus is the very startling image that you see here. All right, let's look at these two. I spoke before about faces and how those often work really well. And I put these two together because they provide an interesting contrast. Let's start with the one on the left. Typically, when we see an ad that has a panda bear on it, it's going to be about saving wildlife or saving panda bears. But instead, this rescue mission decided to turn it on its head and say, save the humans. And it's clever and it's kind of funny. And also because we are drawn to seeing pictures of animals. So you might be more likely to look at that if you're looking across a newspaper or magazine page to stop and read it and actually think about the fact that there are humans who need saving as well as animals. All right, let's look at the ad on the right. So we have the dog with the nunchucks, and it says animals can't protect themselves. And, so this is clearly about animal abuse. All the text at the top is there because this is, a professional company, and they want to provide a little bit more information about how to contact them and what they do. Obviously, you don't need that in your own ad. But you can see the dog. He's very cute, and he's looking right at the screen. And so that really captures it. And that slogan, animals can't protect themselves, it's very simple, but very powerful. And it shows us that we need to be advocates for animals. All right, here's another set of opposing images. On the left, we have beef, it's what's for dinner, and breakfast in the unlikely event of leftovers. So we can see here that in wanting to advertise eating beef, We have a picture of a very lovely roast here, and you can see the colors are there. You kind of get the impression that it's juicy. And the text is pretty big on this one, but because of the way your eyes focus, you are still really looking at that steak. And so then you see the breakfast is a little smaller because it's just kind of a joke that goes along with it. But the most important part is that they want you to eat beef. Now let's look at the one on the right for PETA. They're arguing the exact opposite, that you shouldn't be eating meat. Now this is an interesting technique that PETA uses specifically for their ads. They use sex to sell whatever particular cause they're arguing for, whether it's not wearing fur, being vegetarian, or adopting an animal, something along those lines. Because, as we all know, sex sells, and your eye is going to be immediately drawn to this particular message. So we have eating meat is a sin, go vegetarian. So it's very simple, very straightforward, and they used a powerful image to get the idea across, even though it isn't entirely related to being vegetarian, but it does get its point across. Now let's look at some student examples. This is an example by one student in the past, and this was their whole ad. Now the first thing that isn't working too well here is that you can see there are two different images, and you really only want to focus on one image. It's a good message, but it's getting lost. And the other way that it's getting lost is because there's all this different text, and you really want to keep it simple. So, maybe the student should have just had thousands a year die, and then something simple, like if it is too cold for you to be outside, it is too cold for your animals. So just that sentence would have been just fine in one of these images to get the idea across. Because picture that this is in a magazine or something. Typically, people do not look at an ad or an image for more than about 3 to 5 seconds. Sometimes a little longer if it draws their attention in. So you need to get your message across that quickly. So it's a very different type of argument than what we've been doing so far. All right, now this student example is definitely stronger. We have, without music and art, life would be very bland and boring. And we have imagine songs with no music, and then we have these lyrics here. And imagine this with no art. Now the picture on the right is the Sistine Chapel, and it's very beautiful. And on the left, it doesn't, it's kind of boring. It doesn't really give us a sense of what a song is like. So what would have really worked well for this ad is just to have had imagine this with no art, that image, and then maybe one more sentence, a few words to explain what the ad is about, because we actually don't know here. It's supposed to be about funding the arts in schools. So you do want to make it clear what you're advocating for, and again, one striking image, small amount of text. Now let's look at this example from a student. You promised to bring us home, Mr. President. Bring me home so I can see my family. Now, first off, that's a little bit confusing because it talks about us and then it says me, and you want to keep that clear. Now, the image is very powerful, but it's obscured, again, by all this extra text that's in yellow, which makes it hard to read on the right-hand side. And this is just way too much information than we need to put there. So, again, great image, keep the text more simple. I like the way the text is done at the top and the bottom with the black border, so it's simple to see. But again, it's a little bit wordy, and all of this extra stuff around here with the yellow doesn't look very good. All right, here's one that a student did that's much better. This is exactly the kind of thing that I'm looking for. So keep the music alive. Our children's creativity is more than dollars and cents. And here, this is a very clear image. We see that it's a sheet music. Now, it doesn't use a face, and that's okay because this is instantly recognizable as sheet music. And the student kept the text simple. Keep the music alive, but then mentioned exactly what this is about, as opposed to the other one we looked at that was about the same issue, about funding the arts, but didn't tell us that. And you can see that the text is over the blurrier part of the image, and the sharp part, the focus, is left on its own, and that's exactly what you want. Now here's another one by a student that could be strong, but as I talked about before, that red text does not look right. It's very startling, especially against this blue background. That's not an attractive color combination. And again, the text here is bigger than the picture. And remember, you want the picture to tell your story. So the picture should be much bigger and the text much smaller. And the message is also a little confusing. Texting and driving don't mix. The life you could save could be mine. We don't know who mine is. So instead you might have wanted to say your friend, or it could be your life that you're saving, so that it made a little more sense. But we do have a good image. Here we have the person texting and driving, and then the young lady on the side, she looks pretty startled as to what's going on. So that's a good choice of image, but the layout isn't ideal. And that's all I want to tell you guys about. Please be sure to let me know if you have any questions about this assignment. Have a good day.